Hello, my name is Troy Galloway. I'm the owner of Galloway Building Services, and I'm really tickled that you folks have taken your time to watch this video, because what I wanted to share with you is the difference of what we look for in a historical home, which is an old home. This old home we're looking at here today is over 120 years old. We just have different building practices, and they can't be held to the same standards as what was when they was built back in 120 some years. So anyway, come and join us, and you'll enjoy this as much as we do. Thanks, folks. Watch your feet, watch your steps as we go down through here. Naturally, nobody really believed in handrails back in these days. Now here's the old handrail. This is what they used to be like. So what I want to share with you down here is the roof is important, but so is my basement and my foundation and my joist. So you can see what we look like on the inside of our stone and mortar foundation. And now look at our boards. These are full 2x4 boards, and these are actually have been milled right out here in St. Louis, probably right out here in this part of town, back when they built this house, because you know, transportation of all the lumber. Now it's a full masonry home, but still being full masonry, we still had a lot of wood involved. But look at this here, you know, it says, and it's all Douglas fir, which was really popular at the time, but it has a tendency, Douglas fir, this is something you want to watch for. Douglas fir has a tendency to crack when it gets older. And truthfully, if an inspector doesn't find any cracked wood on our joist, floor joist, then there probably is missing something. So that's something to be watching for. Now we see some of that on this here, but look at that. And you can see the old water stains and such built in, it's happened. And look at my flooring here. Under that old hardwood, look at that. Isn't that something? And of course, we've had some leaks in here. We can see we've had a lot of leaks over the years, but you know, what don't leak after 120 some years, you know? Then we'll come into here. I want to share with you here. Now you can see we do have some broken joist here. Perfect example. And actually it's even kind of deteriorated. But what we have is we had a big old crack right along through this joist right here. But they've had to come in here to put in this steel beam. Now the steel beam is something that's been added to the job since they've been in here, because this expansive length of this timber, it was great at the time, but like I said upstairs, it literally starts to sag. So what they've done is they put this steel beam in. Now this is why we're trying to not just look at the old. What we're most important, I feel too, is again, like I was saying earlier, we want to make sure that what they've done fixing it is done right, and it's the retrofits that scare us the most. And look at this right here. So you can see I got this nice steel beam, and we got adequate posts right here, but they're not attached. And they need to be attached, because this could literally be knocked out if somebody was to run into it. I reckon you got to run into it pretty hard. But as an engineer, I have to call this, because this is a structural issue, and it's also not attached to the floor. We want it attached to the floor, and we want it attached to our beam. I think we should sister them and do the beam, but it's a twofold thing. Now look over here on this old steel, our main support. Now this was the original. This literally was just cut from a local tree. Now that's a piece of oak. That is not Douglas fir, and the reason I can tell is because the texture of the material, and we always used oak. Well, can't say always. We did what we had, or used what we had, but we used oak on our beams so as that for structural strength. But because of the length of time, it too sagged, and it literally has had to put this post in. Once again, this post has not been put in correctly, so it needs to be secured. This is absolutely not to code. It's absolutely not safe for many reasons. For one, you know, that right there ought to be enough right there. So we want to make sure that that is taken care of too. So like I said, we want to make sure that the house is, the old is good and the new is good, and everything in between is done right and safe. Let's walk over to this wall over here because look how cool this old wall is. Can you know, the old masons back in them days, not Freemasons, stonemasons, isn't that awesome? Look at that. They literally come out here and probably dug this basement out by hand and did all of this all by hand. You know, and probably all this wood's been cut by a handsaw. All of the holes drilled with a regular, probably with a brace and bit. Anyway, like I said, for a construction nerd, I just love this stuff. I just think it's just so interesting. But these are some of the things we want to be looking at when we do an historical home inspection. We want to look at, once again, we want to look at the old, make sure it's safe. We want to look at the new, make sure it's done right. And we want to make sure that everything in between, the retrofit, is safe and still compliant and going to last us for another 120 years. This home here, I'll be long gone, and this video will still be here, and this house will still be here. Just don't make them like this anymore. We just can't afford it. Thank you folks for watching my video. I hope this has been interesting. I hope that you learned something, and I hope that when you go to get you an historical home, and I do encourage it because they're so much fun, think about these things before you actually spend your money. Make sure it's not a money pit, but just a beautiful thing that you and your wife or your family can get into and build memories right along with the rest of the families that's lived here for the last 120 years. Thank you, folks.